Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
Howdy everybody, we'd like to welcome you to SoundVaaibs.
SoundVaaibs, that's a great name, isn't it, guys? Everyone think it's a great name? I think it's a great name. It's so good.
Nate hates the name, but that's cool. So introducing myself, I'm Paddy MacD. I'll be co-host with...
The NATE, and yeah, a lot of people might know this already, but I used to do this shindig a while ago. I don't do it anymore, because I don't. It's really hard work. A lot of people don't understand how much work actually goes into making a podcast.
Yeah, but it's going to be better now because we're part of a bigger monster here.
Yeah, right here at Blended Audio. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you guys obviously want to know what it is that we're going to be doing with our slot, our time.
Yeah.
And so we've been invited to come in and chat about all things to do with audio and production and performance and pretty much anything music and sound related. But who are we?
We are those metal people that live in a village far, far away.
Yeah, somewhere down south. Not down under, but down south.
We're not from the Aussies. No, we are essentially Patrick Davidson and Nathan McClure, part of the metalforafrica.com sphere. We've been tackling metal, Pat mostly more than me. I think I've been in the game a little shorter than you have.
Just a wee.
Just a wee. Yeah, I'm like mini Pat, tiny. I'm a Nate still, but mini Pat.
Yes.
We do 2 annual events a year, the Summer and Winterfest, where we focus more on the heavier music side of things, but we've felt like this would be a great opportunity to expand ourselves and expand the knowledge moving forward, to discuss things music and not necessarily just discuss things metal,
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, whilst our public face is mostly exposed to heavy metal and heavier music, that doesn't mean we're not fans of music, in the greater context of that word.
Exactly.
Some people are sometimes surprised to hear what we listen to besides heavy metal, but I'm sure we'll get into that as the episodes unfold. And you guys will get to know us a bit better. But I think, as Nathan points out, we are involved in a live music. Yeah, so entertainment.
It's an entertainment sphere.
Yeah, we're involved in entertainment. And both of us also are from a performance background, not only, putting on shows, but being the show as well.
The whole show, so check the spotlight hog.
Oh,
yeah. No, you've got a history behind a guitar.
Yeah.
And I got a history behind this old thing.
I've been playing with a heavy metal band called Mind Assault since 2004.
It's been that long.
Yeah.
2004. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the age now.
Yeah. Well, look at me. So playing live since 2004, but I've been a fan of live shows since I was. I think my mom actually took me to my first gig when I was 14. My dad wasn't impressed.
Wow.
But I mean, I haven't looked back since.
I could say my background's slightly similar. I think I went to my first gig at 16. I mean, if anyone listening is familiar with the Cape Town area, Tableview suburb specifically, the Labour and Infinican Hall. You remember shows?
I remember shows at that place.
Yeah, my first gig, my first proper metal show was there when I went and did the whole, how do you do this? How do you do the headbang thing? Yeah. And you just stand in front of the stage like a scared idiot. You're like, help. And then you get sucked into these wonderful communal banging of the bodies. What's it called? A moshpit.
Yeah.
And we as kids used to get up to all sorts of mischief at that hall.
Yeah, I've no doubt.
It was a great time. Okay, everyone had a good time. But yeah, since then, it's been quite a journey. I've evolved significantly over the years, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, well, I was a good kid. I didn't disappoint my parents until I was about 17.
Oh, you poor thing. You poor thing. I started at an early, tender age of 12.
Yeah.
Disappointing everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, so my first show my mom took me to, and it was one of these festivals where pretty much every band was still a cover band.
Oh.
But it was a whole weekend out at the Hunklip Hotel, which is this like dive bar on the sort of coastline where all the fishermen attend, not far from Cape Town, but just far enough,
Yeah.
And the only band playing original songs at that whole festival, if I recall correctly, was Lithium.
Oh.
South African band Lithium, who in recent years has kind of like come back on the radar.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I was a bit green at that show to really understand the Moshpit, and I think the majority of people attending were these like sort of middle-aged like bikers and drunks who sort of didn't really mosh. They just swayed on the spot and sang along, because it was all cover bands in those days. So they would just basically like bolt out the lyrics with the, it was a bit messy. But having seen Lithium at that show, I think it was about a month or two later, was a show at the Claremont Civic Hall.
Probably
featuring Lithium.
Yeah, same band, yeah.
So we went, and there I was introduced to the Moshpit, and I think there was where I really started getting my appreciation for music as entertainment. And I think once that bug had bit, I knew that there was a future for me that was going to involve being on stage or being around stages.
Yeah.
Which ultimately boils down to getting in studio and the whole shebang that goes with it.
Yeah, it's actually, I think a lot of people go through a very similar process. Like, I felt the need to be on stage, probably not my first years around the stage or around music, live music in general. I mean, my first live metal concert was 16, but I only felt the need probably around the age 18, 19, somewhere around there. And I was like, you know what, I would just love to do this, but how? And I went out looking for music schools and things like that to just sort of learn things. And I just found that, practice and practical and self-exploration was probably the fast track for me.
Yeah.
And some would say not the easiest road, but
no.
But it was still a road that I took and I stuck to. And I think now I'm starting to see the fruits.
Well, I think this is the thing, I've got no formal background in anything that I do today.
Yeah.
Including sitting here at this podcast. Starting this and doing this, there's no formal background. But I think probably there's a lot of people out there who can relate. Once this thing gets you in its jaws and it ain't gonna let go, you have to learn what you can, where you can, how you can. And a formal avenue is not for a lot of people an available option.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm hoping that with what we are going to be sharing in the episodes that follow, we're kind of lending towards the informal educational journey of exploration that our listeners will experience and hopefully gravitate towards.
I'm sure they will. I think we're going to bring a lot of discussions to the fold that a lot of people have avoided. Just because they can be a bit difficult in some contexts. Context.
Yes.
There's a lot of discussion that needs to be had that is not being had, and I think we're gonna tackle quite a few of those topics in the episodes to come, which I'm really excited for because. It needs to happen. It's been too long now. People need to open their eyes and open their mouths, and most importantly, open your ears.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah. Well, look, I think what you say has a lot of merit to it. my own journey, of course, when we start out doing something as a passion, we obviously affiliate or find ourselves sharing space with people who are also likewise, they're in this thing because of passion, not necessarily because of profession.
Yeah.
And the problem with being surrounded by passionate people is that, look, it has a great energy about it and you go places, but oftentimes you don't get honest critique.
That's a problem.
On like what it is that you're actually getting done.
Yeah.
And sometimes that lack of critique doesn't really allow you to evolve and grow and better yourself. It allows you to become complacent with what you think you have achieved already, which you have to a degree. But in entertainment and sound and audio, I mean, we are serving to a consumer base.
Yeah.
And you need to be on your game.
You have to be.
And I think, with us doing this now, some might ask, yeah, but who are you to be giving this kind of commentary?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, starting the show, just saying who we are, where we come from. It's not to say that we are the experts. We are journeymen ourselves.
Yeah, we are people of experience, but still experiencing and moving forward in that experience. We haven't reached the summit by any means.
Yes.
We're currently still on the journey, and any experiences that we have had along the way, we would like to share.
Exactly. So yeah, whoever's listening now, we are on this road with you.
Yes.
We may be a few steps ahead. In some cases, we may be a few steps behind. So if you are listening and some of what we're saying is a load of BS, feel free to comment on the social feeds and whatnot. And we'd like this to be engaging, that in the conversations we have, you guys can feed back to us. And we all learn together and we become better together.
Yeah, we'll open up the discussion forum and let's all just have a chat. Let's have one big, massive global discussion about whatever, wherever around music.
Yeah. So I think in terms of what we're going to be talking about in the consequent episodes, after you just getting to meet us now, is pretty much anything and everything to do with music and sound in the entertainment, or should I say in the live entertainment context, as well as the recorded entertainment context. So, it's going to be a lot of stuff. And a lot of these things, we've done a bit of, or we've done a lot of. Some of them we might be what could be considered expert level in our field. And in other areas, we're complete novices. So, we really look forward to growing and learning with this, but also just sharing that knowledge, which we do have. But please do share your knowledge with us as well.
Yeah, most of our perspective is the perspective of the underground. And a lot of people think music is a broader term. The music that we know is very much a niche sort of genre. Well, we based in a niche sort of genre where we are not overly exposed to a lot of things that people outside, well, rather inside in their case, would be exposed to. Like a lot of people in the sort of pop and commercial scene, people that are doing country and hip hop and all sorts of those things. We're not overly exposed to that, and therefore, if somebody from that sphere would like to input or start a discussion, then I feel that would be amazing.
Yeah, by all means, because I think something else that well, at least I've picked up about music and entertainment over the years is diversity.
Yeah.
Coming from the metal scene, we often have guys who say, no, but it's not metal, or it's not metal enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, that's fair, because everything has its place in this world. But by the same token, if you paint yourself too deep into a corner, well, then you just find yourself painted in a corner.
Yeah, there's no getting out of a corner if you've put yourself there, because only you can get yourself out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that paint them in a certain light, in a certain way, they feel that their beliefs are their beliefs, and they will hoe fuss. until it's raining frogs. So a lot of people, I feel, that are stuck in those corners, that would be a little bit more open-minded to take the hand of somebody who could show them that it's actually okay to like other things. You know, that there's no stigma attached to it. That's all created in your own head. Like if you want to like something else and you're ashamed of it because your buddy's gonna be like, nah, that's not cool, man. Then, you know, it's come and take a walk with us and let's go exploring, because I mean, there's more to life than just one particular type or one particular genre. And I'm not to say that you're not entitled to your own choices and your own opinions, but I mean, to have an open mind means to learn more, and to learn more is power, you know, and to have more creative flow and more power over your own what a sphere of music or a passion that makes you feel good about yourself or makes you motivated to get up in the morning, no matter what that is, expand it, make it bigger.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, this really is what it's all about. You know, being a metalhead or a whatever. It doesn't mean that you have to creatively only express yourself that way.
Yeah.
Unless that's your choice. I mean, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's cool as well. I mean, musically, I admit I'm in a bit of a corner, which I've painted for myself, where I only express myself musically through metal. But I express myself other ways in more than just metal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think part of what I'd like that we do touch on in the consequent episodes is the health of not necessarily painting yourself into a corner, or if that's what you need to do, you know, because you were saying early on about like, or what I kind of got as like, you know, your peer influence, or saying, but it's not cool what you're doing, or it's not cool enough, or it doesn't identify with us closely enough. So it's kind of like your street cred gets diminished if you're too experimental.
Yeah, but that's a security thing.
Yeah. But by the same token, it's the people who had the courage to experiment, who pioneered new genres and new techniques. And basically, that is the future of the scene. Whatever scene it is that you're engaged in, it's to pioneer, to explore, to be bold. And often that does mean initially to be scorned.
Well, it comes with the territory.
Exactly.
People, you know, some people are completely impervious to change.
Yeah.
Whereas change is very necessary in any and all things, really. If you're not changing, you're stagnating. If you're stagnating, you find yourself in a form of complacency. If you're remaining complacent and you're not evolving, then what are you really achieving? You know, so we encourage change. We encourage opening minds and just expanding a little bit more and more and more on different forms of expression, I suppose you could say. Yeah.
I mean, this is really what it comes down to, is to express yourself creatively and to you know find the tools. And now when we're talking about tools, we're talking about your mind as well as technological tools. And if you have a more open mind, then you can include that in your creative toolkit to employ to manifest this expression.
Yes.
You know, because that's a key thing as well. When I started playing the guitar, my knowledge of the technologies available was pretty limited, and I noticed that you know, I'm going back 20 years now, but if I look at what creative people have been able to achieve within the last 10 years, just because of the access to technologies, they're achieving 100 times what I was able to achieve in my first 10 years doing this.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to be talking a lot about technologies and thinking out of the box. And I hope a result of this, Nate, is that you and I will also find ourselves expanding outside of the boxes we are currently in. Because let's face it, we are all confined into a box which is, you know, walled in by our experiences.
Yeah.
And the questions we've been asking.
Yeah, I live in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was by choice.
Yeah.
But this would be a medium, even for like me personally, this would be a medium for me to expand my own knowledge and to witness the experiences of other people and listen to those experiences. I would love to do that. So who knows, we might have a guest on a show that could teach us a few things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have every intention of having guests.
Lots and lots of guests. We don't want you guys to just listen to us the whole time, because that could, we could talk you to sleep. Maybe.
All right. So why would you be listening to us every week? Well, I'd like to believe that with the kinds of questions we will be asking, we're going to be starting out with a 4-part series.
Yes.
Following today's episode, and we're going to be examining songwriting, which to Nathan and myself, we don't play together, but we each play in our own bands. I've played in several, and songwriting is something which, is fundamental to the creative process. And I get the feeling, at least within our local scene, and maybe from your local scene, wherever you are listening from, you see the same thing. A lot of the bands who kind of get going, entry-level bands, I don't believe have a very solid concept of songwriting. The requirement of songwriting, what do you need to be thinking about when you're creating a song? Whereas I think a lot of enthusiastic musicians, they get into the jam room and they just want to make a noise, and they want to focus on their strengths, obviously, and they can produce often a lot of music, and sometimes quite quickly, but are they producing high quality songs, something which their listeners are going to actually engage with?
Well, a lot of musicians have taken a closer looking glass approach, and they take significantly longer to release something, I've noticed. And it's usually those guys that have sort of refined themselves a formula of what they need to do for whatever project it is that they're working on. Because, for every project, different formulas are going to work for different people. It's not a one-size-fits-all concept, unless you're in a space where something is trending at the moment, and if you go with that trend, you could ride that wave potentially for I don't know, however long it lasts. But in a more niche genre, a more underground genre, a lot of people get very visibly frustrated and angry when their music isn't received well. And a lot of that can pertain to just songwriting choices that weren't, they didn't have the right ingredients in order to hook the listener. And I think it's really important that a lot of people who are struggling with that sort of explore what they can do differently. And again, this goes back to change and to evolving, just to figure out different ways of putting a composition together in order that will engage with the listener and make them interested, make them want to grab it and be like, this is great, I want to put this in my ears, and that's very difficult to do nowadays, especially considering how saturated a lot of markets are.
Just the bombardment of stimulus from everywhere.
Exactly. And it becomes very, very tricky to sort of balance your recipe for what will make your project a success or a failure.
Well, I think this, what you say, going back to genre, it doesn't actually matter what genre you're doing. If you're applying strong principles into your songwriting process, the chances are people are going to gravitate towards what you're doing because it's engaging.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of people, regardless of which genre they are creating, if they're not creating engaging music, then it's not the genre which is the recipe for success. It's the songwriting ability. And this is what we're going to be talking about for the next 4 episodes. We're going to be breaking it into parts and sharing with you our analysis, which I think Nate and I are also going to learn a lot from just in discussing.
Oh, yeah.
And we want you guys to interact with us. So please, when these episodes come out, comment. If you think we're talking nonsense, let us know.
We'll open up a page for discussion. We'll get it going. We'll start the discussion ourselves and we'll put it out there to you guys. And please come forward and chat to us. We'd love to discuss all of these topics, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm excited.
So thanks, guys. Welcome to Sound Vibes, and I'm Paddy McD, and
DNATE. I'll check you. I'm out of here. I'm getting coffee.
cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to us ramble on about all things music and sound here on Sound Vibes, produced with the generous assistance of Blended Podcasts, brought to you by Blended Audio.